birthday tea. He squeezed my throat when Daddy brought out the cake. He squeezed my throat so hard I couldn't blow out the candles. There were 5 candles on my cake, and Daddy said I'm a big girl now. April was cross when she saw the cake. April shouted. Spit came out her mouth. I curl up like a tiny snail, all curled up in my little round shadows. If I hold my breath and keep really still, no one can see or hear me, and the bear won't wake. Skip? Skipper! Where are you? Oh no! It's Daddy! I don't want Daddy to wake Baloo up. I want Daddy to be quiet. Go away, Daddy! Go away, Daddy! I think as loudly as I can. But Daddy doesn't hear me. Skip? Skipper! Are you behind the armchair? Oh, is it the bear? Is Baloo here again? Daddy goes round the room doing a funny pretend. Don't worry, Skip. I'll get rid of that bear for you. Daddy stamps around, looking under cushions, opening and closing cupboard doors. Right, Baloo, you big brown cowardly bear, come on out. Bears are not allowed on board this boat. No bears on board. Daddy whips out his shining cutlass. Take that, and that, and that. Splash. Bear overboard, whoop, whoop. Daddy peeks behind the armchair and whispers, oh, he's gone. He's in Davy Jones' locker. Daddy thinks it's a game. Daddy doesn't know what Baloo can do. Daddy holds out his hand, and I take it when he wiggles his fingers. Daddy covers one eye with his hand and stands on one leg. He says, come on, me hearty. We don't want to fall foul of the cotton. Har, Jim, lad. That is funny. Daddy. Oh, he turns on the telly. Oh no, it's the Pink Panther! Gentleman, a scholar, he's a acrobat, he's a pink panther, the ring pink panther, he's a panther that's ever so pink. Daddy pulls out a packet of chocolate digestive biscuits. My eyes go big and I look at the door. I snatch a chocolate digestive from his hand. I lick the chocolate off the top. The Pink Panther walks off the edge of the cliff, and I squeal when he looks down and sees he's going to fall. Whee! Daddy drops me between his legs as if they're cliffs, but he doesn't let me hit the ground like the Pink Panther does. He's the one and only truly original Pink Panther from head to toe. Up on Daddy's knee, and in my panic, I let the digestive fall. It lands on the blue and pink swirl, on the freshly hoovered carpet, chocolate side down. I back up into my wormy shell. I stare at the digestive, make it front of the telly. Black shoes with dagger heels walk across the car. Stab! 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 Who's been eating in my house? Who's been eating?
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities are Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be found of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. When you look under the rocks and plants and take a glance at the fancy ants, then maybe try a few.
You eat ants?
You better believe it. And you're gonna love the way they tickle. Moving, look out! The bare necessities of life will come to you.
But where?
They'll come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Now when you pick a pawpaw or a prickly pear, and you prick a raw paw, well next time beware. Don't pick the prickly.
For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. I loved my dad when he was small, when I was small. He was warm and funny, like a favourite cardigan. A bit itchy and smelly, but always cosy and familiar. As the years wore on, he grew misshapen and faded from too many years of use, as if he'd been rinsed out too many times. Forget about your worries and your strife. That was insipid. Yeah, that's the word. That was insipid when it came to her, April. I know it's a cliche, but the colour used to literally drain out of him when April did her alien snake stare. Dad went from pink and jolly to grey and billy with a single look for her big eyes. Dad, he tried, to look out for me and give me the heads up and warn me, to get out of April's way. He'd whisper, "Warning shot across the bows. On your ends, we're up for a keel hauling." You see, Dad had been in the Navy when he was young, before he met her. And he resorted to nautical terms whenever he was under stress, trying to cope. I think it was his way of defining her. Because his days in the Navy reminded him of a time when he was young, free, single, and not under her thumb. I still can't refer to April as mother. I never called her mummy or mum. I was instructed to call her April, which wasn't her real name, but the month in which she was born. Her real name was Mary, which for some reason she detested. I think it had something to do with an association in her mind with Mary, Mother of God. You know the Virgin Mary? I think that April thought the Virgin Mary was a bit of a doormat. And April did not want to be associated with a doormat. Oh no! April didn't play second fiddle to anyone, not even the Son of God. She wanted to be the main man, so to speak. So, she was known as April, which the kids at school thought was pretty weird. Not that they knew anything about me. I kept myself to myself, and I never, ever, ever took anyone home. I only had one friend at school. That was Sarah. Aww. Sarah was really cool because she was adopted. I used to long to be adopted when I was young. Oh, I used to fantasize about this adopted mother who would come along and rescue me. She'd scoop me up in her arms, she'd hand me a suitcase and hurry me into the car and take me forever away. Then Daddy would come and marry this adopted lady and we'd all live happily ever. Well, you know how fairy tales end. Well, my life as a child was no fairy tale. It certainly was surreal. My earliest memory was, I must have been about 3 years old, and I was eating pilchards from a catwalk off a newspaper on the kitchen floor. I remember that "These Boots Are Made for Walking" was playing on the radio. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. I got down on my hands and knees, like I'd seen Sooty, our cat, do, and I started to lick the pilchards. But I soon abandoned eating them the cat way because I was so hungry, and I just stuffed them in my mouth with my hands as quickly as I could. I don't remember tasting them. I just crammed them in as fast as I could. Then I noticed that my hands were all tomato, and my fingers were smelly. So I wiped them on my brand new Christmas jimmies. I remember April's face when she saw what I was doing. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. The wind struck away. I was frozen to the spot in the full beam of April's alien snake stare. I stood there covered in pilchards, feeling the warm shame of fear running down my legs and soaking my brand new Christmas jimmies. No! That night, I vomit over and over again, whilst a stream of brown liquid comes out of my bottom. I keep retching and choking, and retching and choking. You see, the tube that April had inserted into my throat hurt. It scratched and tore the delicate membranes as it was forced out. I tried to scream, but only a strangled gurgle came out. My wrists were held behind my back. I twisted and writhed, but my tiny 3-year-old hands were no match for strong, grown-up, determined ones. Another tide I remember. I was in the woods and I was literally faint with hunger. Daddy and April were sitting on a park bench. They were smoking, and April was bitching because the neighbours were snooping around. They thought I was playing, but the reality was that I was so hungry that I could barely focus my eyes, and my mouth tasted like sandpaper, and my spindly legs were starting to give way.
I held my tummy. I tried to quiet the bear who climbed deep down inside and who was growling loudly.
Suddenly, I was floating from a height looking down on myself. It was like a scene from a film. It was so surreal. I watched from some cool, quiet place in the sky as this emaciated child swayed and tried to hold herself up. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt she was dying. I observed this child as she walked slowly over to a nearby bush. She steadied herself on the branch. She reached out her arm and picked a handful of purple berries. She put them in her mouth. She swallowed them. Her face was a mask, as if she'd been erased. She repeated this over and over again until all the berries were gone. I wondered if she'd get into trouble, because purple juice was staining her face, her fingers, and her jumper.
Look at the state of you! You've ruined your jumper! How could you do this to me?
Where's Daddy? I want Daddy. I want Daddy to be a pirate. When will Daddy be a pirate?
April wore her special face whenever the doctors and nurses came in. Oh, she was a brilliant actress and gave an award-winning performance of a concerned and saintly mother. If only they'd had CCTV in those days, because if they had, they'd have seen a completely different woman when I was alone with her. When the doctors and nurses had gone, and it was just the two of us, her concerned mask would drop. She'd make a big thing about selecting a chocolate from a box of milk tray that had been brought in. After carefully deliberating her choice, she popped the selected chocolate into her mouth. Then watch me watching her with sly, sideways eyes. April would bore anyone who would listen with facts and figures about my condition. Oh, she was an expert on eating disorders. She was an authority on extreme food allergies.
Of course, the child suffers from an extremely rare and life-threatening form of anaphylaxis, which requires immediate medical treatment. This includes an urgent injection of epinephrine, without which the condition can be fatal. Of course, this has to be administered within 1 or 2 minutes.
She'd get this red flush on her chest when she spoke about my condition. There's something wrong with her eyes. She didn't blink. Then came the self-pity.
It's all been extremely difficult for me, because I always have to be on high alert. People don't appreciate appreciate how draining this is for me. I'm constantly having demands made on me.
Gnawing pains. Bear is desperate. He's clawing to get out. I'm 8 years old. I'm in bed, and I'm trying to read my EMUL8 book. But the hunger is so intense that the words are just dancing on the page in front of me. Without thinking what I'm doing, I tear a strip from the page of my book. I put it into my mouth. I mix it with some water from a mug by my bed. It makes a glue in my mouth. I chew it a bit and swallow. After that, I collect newspapers and magazines from the bus or from the doctor's waiting room, and I squirrel them back home and put them in my room. April thinks it's pretty odd that I'm taking such an interest in current affairs, but she puffs herself up and tells anyone who will listen.
She's a very gifted child. She has an appetite for knowledge and simply devours information.
She didn't know how close to the truth she was. I used to try and beg food from the kids at school, but the teachers and the kids had been alerted to my extreme food allergies and kept food away from me for my own good. Oh, I used to stare at their lunch boxes and endlessly plot how I could steal something to eat. It was all I could think about. I did manage to steal Charlie Moffat's lunchbox once. Oh, that was a glorious day. While Charlie Moffat was playing conkers with Lucy from down the road, I snatched his lunchbox out of his satchel and I ran around the back of the school. I hid behind the dustbins. I opened the lunchbox. All that was in it was a brown banana and the crust from his Marmite sandwiches. I devoured that banana and I licked that lunchbox clean. Charlie Moffat never knew that he literally saved my life. When April found out what had happened, she locked me in my room for 2 days and 2 nights straight, with not a single thing to eat. All I had was a mug of water. I didn't cry. I had my magazines and newspapers and my EMUL8 book. Wherever I roam, I can be fonder of my people. The bees are buzzing in the trees to make some honey just for me. With you under the rocks and plants, and take a glance at the fancy and say, and I know I haven't got any food allergies. Never had. Not a single one. It seems that the symptoms were all in April's warped and disturbed mind. My little girl will be home from school soon. I hope she's hungry.
For the band.
Hastings Fringe. Not only has Heather written both of these plays, but she's the director of the Fringe. We have one more of these next Friday at the Stables. So please, which is a big space, very different. So it will be very different for us. Different show. If you want to come again, please do. If not, if you enjoyed this evening, please do tell all of your friends, because we're doing it one more time. And well, yeah. What else should we say?
No, that's it. But just thank you for putting up with the heat, and
yes.
It's really.
You're hotter than me.
Yeah, I am hot. So
Yeah, how many are wearing a shirt today?
Our social media sponsor for this production is Always Time for Theatre. Now in its 4th year, Always Time for Theatre is a blog based in Yorkshire that also covers the Midlands and North London through theatre reviews, articles, and interviews. You can follow Always Time for Theatre on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check out their blog at alwaystimefortheatre.com.